Have you ever stopped to think that, often, the biggest obstacle between you and your dreams is yourself? It's not the external circumstances, the people around you, or the lack of opportunities, but rather the way you think, the stories you tell yourself, and the patterns you reinforce every day. When you catch yourself saying, "I'm not good enough, this isn't for me," or "I'll fail anyway," you're putting yourself in the role of your own worst enemy. That inner voice, filled with doubts and self-criticism, might seem harmless at first, but it has the power to trap you in a cycle of self-sabotage that limits your life in every aspect. The good news? You can transform your mind and change that narrative, starting today. The idea of being your own worst enemy isn't new, but it's something many people overlook. From the moment we wake up, our minds are filled with automatic thoughts, many of them negative. Perhaps you start the day with a to-do list and, before even beginning, think, "I won't be able to handle this," or "everything will go wrong." These thoughts aren't just fleeting reflections, they shape the way you act. If you believe you're not capable of leading a work project, for example, you might not even try, missing out on a chance to grow. If you think you don't deserve a healthy relationship, you might settle for less than you deserve. This mindset isn't just pessimistic, it's a form of self-sabotage that prevents you from reaching your full potential. But where does this pattern come from? Its origins often lie in past experiences. Perhaps you grew up hearing constant criticism, parents who demanded perfection, teachers who only pointed out your mistakes, or even friends who, unintentionally, made you feel smaller. These experiences plant a seed of insecurity that grows over time, turning into a core belief: "I'm not enough." This belief becomes a lens through which you see everything. Got a promotion? It was just luck. Received a compliment? They're just being nice, it's not true. You start filtering reality, giving more weight to your failures than your successes, and this reinforces the idea that you are your own worst enemy. The impact of this is profound. When you constantly put yourself down, you not only undermine your self-esteem, but also your actions. Think about how many opportunities you've let pass because you believed you weren't capable. Maybe you avoided speaking up in a meeting out of fear of sounding foolish, or gave up on a hobby because you weren't good enough. This mindset also affects your relationships. Have you noticed how hard it is to accept a compliment? Someone says something positive, and you respond with, "Oh, it was nothing," or "It could have been better." That's not humility. It's a way of rejecting validation, and it can push people away. Worse still, you might end up isolating yourself because you believe no one would want to be around someone as imperfect as you. Moreover, being your own worst enemy creates a cycle of fear and avoidance. If you believe you'll fail, you avoid taking risks. And by avoiding risks, you never experience the growth that comes from failure or success. It's a comfort zone disguised as safety. Deep down, this constant self-criticism gives you an excuse not to try. If I already know I'm inadequate, why bother? But that safety is an illusion, because what you're really doing is limiting yourself. You're not truly living, you're just surviving, trapped in a narrative you've created. So how do you transform your mind and stop being your worst enemy? The process requires effort, but it's entirely possible with practical, consistent steps. The first step is to recognize that inner voice. It's not the truth, just a pattern you've learned over time. When it arises with thoughts like, "You're not capable," or "This is ridiculous," pause and observe. Give it a name. Call it the inner enemy voice, or inner critic. Simply acknowledging that these thoughts aren't facts begins to weaken their power over you. Don't try to silence them right away. Just notice they're there. The second step is to challenge those sabotaging thoughts. Ask yourself, is this really true? What evidence do I have for this? Often, you'll realize that the inner voice exaggerates or distorts reality. For instance, if you think, "I always fail," list moments when you succeeded, even if small: a well-written email, a successful conversation, a day you felt good. Write these victories in a notebook and reread them when needed. This helps balance your perspective and shows you're more capable than your mind suggests. Over time, you can replace the negative narrative with a more realistic and kind one. The third step is to practice self-compassion. Instead of judging yourself harshly, treat yourself as you would a friend. If a friend said, "I'm not good enough," would you respond with, "You're a failure," or "You're right"? Probably not. You'd say something encouraging, like, "You're doing your best and that's what matters." Speak to yourself the same way. When you make a mistake, say, "It's okay, I'm learning." This shift in tone is powerful and helps build a healthier relationship with yourself. The fourth step is to act despite the fear. Your inner enemy will try to convince you to stay still, but growth comes from facing that fear. Start small. If you're afraid of public speaking, try asking a question in a meeting. If you fear rejection, initiate a conversation with someone new. Each action, no matter how small, is proof you can go beyond what your mind says. And with each small success, your confidence grows, weakening the inner enemy's voice. Finally, the fifth step is to seek support. You don't have to do this alone. Talk to trusted friends or, if possible, a therapist. Sometimes we need an outside perspective to remind us of our worth. A therapist can help uncover deeper patterns and guide you toward a more positive mindset. Additionally, surround yourself with people who support and uplift you, rather than reinforcing your insecurities. Transforming your mind doesn't happen overnight. There will be days when the inner enemy's voice feels louder, and that's normal. The key is to persist, question it, act despite it, and keep going. You don't need to be perfect. No one is. But you deserve to stop being your worst enemy and start being your greatest ally. Today is the day to take the first step. Recognize, challenge, practice self-compassion, act, and seek support. You are capable of far more than you imagine. Transform your mind and with it, transform your life.